Welcome to Global Investment Voice, your premier podcast for diving deep into the world of investment migration. Are you dreaming of a second or third passport? Then join us as we traverse the globe, exploring the ins and outs of the U.S. EB-5 immigrant investor visa, uncover the secrets of golden visas, and delve into the many residency and citizenship by investment programs. Each episode is packed with exclusive insights from top industry experts. Whether you're an investor, developer, or a visionary entrepreneur, we're here to guide you through the complexities of global investment migration. And who better to navigate this journey with than your hosts, the dynamic legal duo of this industry, Mona Shah and Rebecca Singh. Plus, hear directly from a lineup of global investment migration leaders. So, buckle up and tune in to Global Investment Voice, where your global investment journey begins and expands.
Rebecca, here we are, 2026, and Portugal is still one of the most popular golden visas out there.
Yeah, it's been a hot topic for a while now, Mona.
I know. It's interestingly because since it's been such a hot topic, but since what? Was it October 2023? They no longer have the property section, and yet it's still so popular.
Yes. But, we could talk on where it's popular, who's coming in. But I think today, Mona, we're focusing on if it's not a real estate program anymore, what are we looking at?
Well, I know. I mean, I think that everybody still is fixated on the fact that it was 500,000 euro. But what I don't think people realized was the fact that there was another option for 250,000.
Yes. And I believe it is a donation route. But I mean, we don't want to just discuss it within ourselves, Mona. We do want to welcome our guest speaker who can give us a little bit more on this topic. We'd like to welcome back Tiago Gali Macedo. Welcome back, Tiago.
Hi, Mona. Hi, Rebecca. Nice to be here again.
Oh, so great to speak to you again, Tiago. You are the knowledge of this area, so we do keep coming back to you. But this particular route of 250 is less than half the cost of the $500,000 fund, which is so popular. And I believe that it is the cultural heritage donation. And what we really wanted to ask you, and this is something we're just really going to put on the table, is that the blunt question, does cheaper money buy the same residence permit?
Well, answering directly to your question, yes, it does. The issue was, even myself, I was quite surprised. And because before, when real estate was one of the options, real estate took it all. The winner takes it all. Okay, so you had 98% of investment was made directly on real estate.
Which was very popular. Which was highly popular. The times of approval were great. Portugal was surfing, I think, the best program at that time. By European pressure, Portugal, as you know, they began forbidding the investment or not accepting the investment in the real estate, and basically you kept with the investments in funds and the donations for cultural heritage. Revival, reconstruction, cultural events, cinema, well, everything that is attached to culture as a donation. And that went viral. Today is highly successful. Wow. But what we really wanted to ask, and I think Rebecca, you and I both say, is it's the same residence rights as every other qualifying route, right? The right to live, work, study in Portugal,
definitely, exactly the same.
Everything the same.
Yes, completely the same. Investing 500K in a fund or in several funds and 200 or 250 as a donation, you have exactly the same permit with all the same benefits, all the same possibility to get to nationality, put our PR in the future.
So it's all the same, except that the funds are lower for cultural. So you're just looking at 200 to 250,000 euros donation, and the fact that it's a donation and not a return of capital.
Yeah, it's not a fund. The donation is made through or the state. There are several entities that can be the beneficiaries of those, promoters and beneficiaries of those projects. It can be from the state directly, or it can be through foundations recognized by the Portuguese government. So it's them that receive the money, that issue a document that is the proof of investment, and that permits you, with, of course, the other all requirements, to qualify to have a Schengen residence based in Portugal.
So Tiago, I thought that was interesting of what you just said. Did you say that the funds, the donation goes to the state first before it actually goes to the cultural project? Do they make sure that the funds go to the right, I guess, body or program? Or does the program actually get the funding themselves once they're approved by the government?
That's a good question, Rebecca.
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. And I'll tell you the process for you to understand why does it have the supervision of the state. Once the project is all prepared, they submit it to GPAC, that is an organization from the Ministry of Culture.
Yeah. And they vet and approve everything. Yeah.
Yes. So they will analyze it in detail. And once they analyze it in detail, they say yes. So the state analyzes first if it complies or not, and makes a step of quality in it.
Okay. So Rebecca, Tiago, what my understanding is, as what you've just said, Tiago, is that the state under the Ministry of Culture vets and approves all the cultural projects, and the type of projects we're looking at are artistic production, film projects, museum preservation, archaeological heritage restoration, that type of thing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the other question we have is that, 250,000 is the standard floor as we understand. But we know that there are some projects and there's some areas where it's only 200,000. What's the difference?
The difference is in areas in Portugal where is located the real estate, or is located the cultural event, or is located the headquarters of the film that is being made. There are areas, mainly in the interior of Portugal, that they have less than 1,000 persons per hectare, the population density, or they have less than 75% of the average GDP of Portugal.
So it's a bit like our rural.
It's on those areas, it reduces to 200K.
It's a bit like the way we have the rural designation in the US, I would say, Rebecca, right?
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it sounds familiar.
But it's not a capital contribution, right? It's not a tax-deductible charitable gift for either the US or in Portugal?
It might, if the tax authorities recognize it as a tax, it could be deductible. But more than that, I can tell you that will come in the near future products that you can have the return on your donation.
Okay.
I can't say more. The first ones that are to know, but we are launching a product with several entities in the near future.
Oh, wow.
This is not guarantee that you're going to get it back, but you might get back all the money that you invested. So we might be creating a program that is free.
Interesting. So a lot to look forward to with the Portuguese program.
Yeah, I know. And as I said, we promise we won't tell anyone.
I hope and you will be also the first ones to know once it will come to the market. So you can analyze it because it's a game changer in the industry, and it's very interesting because, for instance, Mona, there's something that's, let me tell you just one thing that's quite important, because one of the things that took longer on getting on the Portuguese program was the opening of bank accounts.
Mm.
Because KYC in Portugal is a bloody mess. The banks didn't have the organization for these levels of KYC. And what they made is they don't have enough people, and it takes a long time for the approvals. And with this project, remember that first, you can do directly the investment to the beneficiary, to the foundation. So you don't need to open a bank account in Portugal. And second one, for instance, countries like India that you can export till 250K, they can make it in 1 year directly, the investment.
No, it is good. It's fantastic. And here's the thing, though, we are seeing this trend now for cheaper passports and cheaper residencies. For example, we've been discussing Saint-Tropez and Nauru at 95,000. Now, this being Europe at 200 and 250,000, you can see where the popularity is. But here, I'd like to ask you, Tiago, what Rebecca and I have seen from clients who've called us and stuff is that the fund still dominates. Right, Rebecca?
I don't have the last month's numbers, but I can tell you in the beginning the funds were dominating.
No, but that's what we're seeing. They're still dominating, even though it's 300,000 more.
Depends on the markets. If you speak about, for instance, the American market is still very much on the funds.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, like you said, the donation is 250 euros, whereas they don't mind spending that additional fund, the additional 300 or 250 euros towards the fund. So, and I think that's because, like, at this point, you have the ability on the return of capital with the fund where you don't have as yet in the cultural.
Right.
Yes.
And then the return of capital is also, Tiago, I'm going to ask you, have people received a return of their capital?
Well, as you know, most of them are not yet ended their investment time period. So it's not yet, but I think, of course, most of them who will receive the invested amount, and some of them with very good profits. But it depends on the funds that they invested. Not all the funds are profitable. And, with this economic crisis that happens, some of them, the volatility is quite big in the market. So at the same time, there is always a risk to invest in a fund, well, like in the US or wherever you invest in a fund. Of course, it has the analysis and the control of the Security Exchange Committee, the Portuguese ones, but you can't. It doesn't guarantee that it's profitable.
It does.
But as answering you, what was saying is that we saw emerging the donation, and today, by number of applicants, I think it's higher. It's higher than the funds. Of course, the amount is still lower because the amount of investment is much lower. But by number of investors, it's higher.
Yeah, I could still see, though. I mean, I'm torn between both. I don't know what you both think, but if the fund can return capital and the donation never does, isn't the cultural route really the more expensive of option in disguise? 200,000 versus 500,000.
Yes, except but in fact, if you can have the possibility of have return on it, because you invest in cultural investments that have a return, and the law doesn't forbid it, then you could be talking about much lower entrance fee and the possibility of return. That I think it's a bit of a hole in the system, especially for some countries that you have difficulty in terms of export of capitals and everything. Then the lower it is, the easier it is for them to be able to apply. And of course, the pyramid of investors is much bigger at 200K than at 500. That's simple math.
I'm curious, Tiago, to see where that goes. Right, you said that's something that could come in, but at this point with a donation, right? The project gets approved by the government. Let's say you put your money in. However, what happens thereafter? Is there still oversight to make sure that the cultural project or film production, whatever is happening, that is still moving forward? How do I know that my funds, the investors or the person who's donating these funds is being used to do what they said it was going to be used for?
Okay. It's a very good question. The government first analyzes a project. Remember, I told you so.
Yeah.
Once they begin implementing the project, on the renewal, GPAC controls that the money that was sent is being spent as the project was saying, to guarantee that the investor won't be harmed by some crazy lunatic on the foundation that grabs the money and goes to Antarctica.
Yeah.
That's an issue that won't happen by principle, because on the renewal, GPAC will issue another document based on the foundation.
Tiago, let me ask you, are you saying that GPAC does some sort of oversight in the same way that we have SEC in the US? Okay.
They need to reapprove upon renewal. The GPAC needs to certify that everything is okay and the money is being well spent. Of course, it doesn't need to be by the cents, because there are some changes on the project and everything. There are some things that you can't predict. But apart from it, they guarantee that the amount, they shouldn't even do that, because for the point of view of the investor, it's one-shot investment.
Mm-hmm.
I make this investment, I'm done. I already did it. If they want to run away with the money, it's their problem. I did it to comply it all. But even so, the GPAC guarantees that doesn't happen, and so it's there is still control by the state.
So does the investor, do they have to reapply them themselves for the permit, and they have to show that the project is continuing? Or has or continuing or completed, or if it's completed, you'll have also the same. And if the rehabilitation is made, or the cultural project it's already done, then you just prove that it was done, and the document is still the same upon renewals, because the renewals are exactly the same renewals as you'd have for a fund investment.
Okay, so one last question for you, Tiago. So let's say, people listening saying, I don't want to do 500,000 and then do the risk. I would rather do 200 or 250. But with the donation, obviously the money is gone the moment it lands. But how does an investor protect themselves on the cultural route? And where have you seen, or where is it likely that people may get burned?
The possibility of being burned, it's very reduced.
Very wide? Why?
Yes, it's reduced. Yeah, because it's a one-shot investment. You did it and you complied with everything. Technically, GPAC, if there is a misuse of the money, GPAC can control it and doesn't have the meaning to say, no, you won't be renewed because these gentlemen are not using the money as they told that they would. No, in that case, GPAC will act against them. but the investor is protected towards it because what he needed to do, he already did.
Yeah, but Tiago, once the fund once your fund is given, there's no refund mechanism once your money's already committed.
Yeah. But the question is, it's one shot.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have your money back because I think you, in my opinion, you always can apply for the renewals because all of your requirements are being already completed.
Okay, and then one quick question, last question. What about where the donated funds are allocated to a specific project and then suddenly the GPAC or the government decide that that project really isn't something they really want and they remove their authorization or they remove their permission to use that project? What happens to the investor's funds?
First, the state once he approves that, he can't go back.
Okay.
And if the state does so, needs to indemnify the investor because of all the problems that he created. But then it's a legal action against the state. But the state, well, so far never did it, and it's not possible technically to do it. Once it's approved, they approve that is good destination of the money, and they recognize the entity that is promoting and being the beneficiary of the money as a serious and that will comply with the investment.
Okay, so Tiago, just to quickly wrap up, in one sentence, if you can, to any of the investors that are listening right now and who wants a European foothold for their family and is weighing the 200,000 or 250,000 donation against the 500,000 at risk, what do you tell them?
I would tell them go for it because especially if you can get a return upon the investment. You'll get the same destination using less amounts of money and as risky it could be a fund. So at the end of the day, this permits many people to be on the Portuguese program that otherwise they wouldn't be there.
So the lower amount, if you can get
a lower amount permits it, and to have a Schengen residency for 200K, if you compare it with the Caribbean, I think that it's quite interesting.
It
I
is.
think it's a pretty good deal.
I agree. Let's see how this works out. And Tiago, come back and discuss other issues with us. But thank you right now for being a guest on Global Investment Voice.
Mona, thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here and to discuss with you these matters that I think are in the interest of all the investors on the Portuguese program and other programs, of course.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of Global Investment Voice. A huge thank you to all our listeners for tuning in and sharing this journey with us. Curious about unlocking the potential of global migration and citizenship? Make sure to visit us online at mshalaw.com and globalinvestmentvoice.com. Dive into our extensive library of podcast episodes. Stay ahead with the latest in migration news by signing up for our insider newsletter. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to keep the conversation going. Remember, the insights shared in our podcast are for informational purposes only, so please seek tailored legal, financial, or investment advice where needed. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep investing smart and living well with Global Investment Voice. We'll see you on the next episode.